China's economy is reeling from blow after blow. The major service platform 58.com has laid off 10,000 office employees, while Nezha Automobile, a once promising new energy vehicle brand, has filed for bankruptcy. Experts warn that China is plunging into a deep recession that shows no signs of bottoming out. As millions of jobless migrant workers return to the countryside with no work and no land, some fear that China may be on the verge of unrest akin to Li Zicheng's peasant revolt. Massive layoffs across service platforms reflect the domino collapse of China's real estate giants. Reports reveal that 58.com, a popular online platform for housing and job listings, abruptly launched large-scale layoffs. Around 20% of its workforce, nearly 10,000 employees, were cut, mainly from tech and local service teams. The news immediately exploded across Chinese social media. 58.com is widely used in China for job hunting, renting homes, and finding domestic services. Sun Guoxiang, a professor at Nanhua University in Taiwan, told the Epoch Times that China's economic downturn has crushed consumer demand. Platforms like 58.com, which rely on recruitment and online services, are now struggling as companies halt hiring and consumers tighten their wallets. Jiang Pinchao, president of a U.S.-based real estate investment firm, said the fall of such platforms is a direct result of China's real estate crash and housing market implosion. He explained that millions of migrant workers once relied on 58.com to find housing in cities while working construction jobs. But now, with countless real estate firms bankrupt and housing projects halted, migrant workers are unemployed and returning to the countryside, leaving 58.com with no user base. Meanwhile, city residents are also slashing spending just to survive, leaving no demand for upgraded rentals. According to Jiang, the collapse of real estate has dragged down countless related sectors. 58.com is just the tip of the iceberg. Private firms are no match for state-owned giants. Analysis: bankruptcy is becoming inevitable. Chinese media reported on June 19th that Nezha Automobile, now known as Hozon New Energy, has entered bankruptcy proceedings, with a billion shares frozen. The news quickly went viral. Once a rising star in China's electric vehicle boom, Nezha is now a casualty of brutal price wars. Professor Sun noted that China's auto industry is locked in fierce competition, with constant price cutting that wipes out profit margins, making it impossible for weaker players to survive. Jiang Pinchao added that Nezha's low-price strategy backfired. European markets rejected cheap Chinese EVs, choking exports. As a result, China's automakers turned inward, triggering a cutthroat price war spearheaded by giants like BYD that devastated smaller rivals. Nezha had name recognition, but against these state-backed behemoths, they stood no chance, said Jiang. He emphasized that China's policies under Xi Jinping favor state-owned firms through subsidies and regulatory advantages, effectively pushing private companies toward bankruptcy. Is China's economy entering a Great Depression? Jiang Pinchao stressed that real estate and automobiles, once the twin pillars of China's economy, are both collapsing. With real estate alone contributing nearly 30% of GDP in the past, its continued slump spells disaster. And given China's shrinking population, a rebound seems impossible. New energy vehicles are also crashing. The industry is in freefall and many firms will die, he warned. China is now in a Great Depression, but it hasn't even hit bottom yet. Professor Sun echoed this view, saying the collapse of real estate and auto sectors is triggering mass unemployment, which in turn crushes entire supply chains. Construction, materials, parts, ads, HR, amplifying the recession in a destructive loop. He concluded that China's economy is already in a deep recession. Zetian, a professor at the University of South Carolina, told the Epoch Times that as more firms collapse and service platforms shrink, the trend is clear. The winter of China's economy is far from over. It's only getting colder. He noted that a Great Depression typically involves massive unemployment and systemic collapse. But the CCP is hiding real data. Even so, he believes China is already deep in a serious recession that's rapidly spiraling toward full-scale economic breakdown. Analysis: rural unrest could rise as China's economy falters. Jiang Pinchao warned that if China's economic decline worsens, the ones who will bear the heaviest burden are those at the very bottom of society, especially farmers and migrant workers. He noted that countless farmers followed the CCP's call to seek work in cities. Now that cities have no jobs, they're forced to return to the countryside, but there's no land left to farm. What are they supposed to do? This group is now in utter despair. Zhang emphasized that the most explosive and neglected crisis in China's social and economic structure lies in the three rural issues. These refer to the countryside, agriculture, and the fate of farmers. He added that even if the economy spirals further downward, the CCP will continue to prioritize urban areas, which means farmers will be the ones hit hardest. China is heading toward multiple crises, he said, including the risk of a large-scale peasant revolt, just like the one led by Li Zicheng in history, because farmers still make up the largest demographic in China. Poor economy, weak spending, Chinese population flees big cities. China's consumer price index has dropped for 4 straight months, consumer confidence remains near record lows, and the housing market shows no signs of revival. Analysts say the key causes are frozen incomes and a tougher, more uncertain job market. With future income unclear, shifting spending habits, and little in the way of a safety net, Chinese consumer demand is unlikely to rebound anytime soon. Many are switching to cheaper products or abandoning expensive cities altogether for areas with lower costs. Consumers tighten their wallets amid fear. CNBC reported that Jeremy Stevens, Asia economist at Standard Bank in Beijing, said last Wednesday, June 18, that China's disposable income growth has been slashed in half since COVID hit in 2020, now rising at just 5% a year. May's business surveys revealed a broad contraction in the labor market, while Chinese factories are still battling U.S. tariffs. Youth unemployment remains stubbornly high. In April, 15.8% of non-student youth aged 16 to 24 were still jobless. According to a Q3 2024 survey by China's central bank, 64% of households prefer saving over spending or investing, an all-time high, and that's despite deposit rates being painfully low, just 0.35% for checking accounts and 1.5% for one-year fixed deposits. A Q4 survey published in March by the central bank shows that among those willing to spend, top priorities are education, healthcare, and travel, areas often tied to personal survival or long-term planning. Chinese culture strongly favors saving, especially in a system where people must pay much of the cost for medical care, university, and retirement. The real estate slump has only worsened the situation, as housing makes up most household wealth. Over half of surveyed households said the job market has become tougher or more unstable, while weak demand continues to drag on growth. Public confidence is low, the housing crisis is deepening, and family wealth is shrinking. Post-pandemic, analysts warn that China's retail recovery will remain painfully slow, with major concerns still weighing on consumers. Exodus from major cities. To cut costs, both consumers and companies are leaving big cities for cheaper regions. According to a June 19th report from Consumer Index in Bain, Shanghai lost 72,000 permanent residents last year, while Beijing lost 26,000. This population shift has driven much higher sales growth in third and fourth tier cities than in the top tier ones, especially for daily goods like packaged food, drinks, personal care, and household products. Widening economic gap and harsh reality. While total sales volume grew, the average selling price dropped 3.4%, showing that buyers are favoring low-cost items over premium ones. Rural residents still earn less than half of what urban residents do, exposing deep inequality. Though the average city dweller made 54,188 yuan, $7,553 USD last year, that pales in comparison to the U.S. average of $64,474 annually. As economic strain and a savings-first mindset dominate, one big question looms: will China's consumers ever feel confident enough to spend again?